This Volvo Car Open update is sponsored locally by Low Country Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
And then there were 32. It is day 5 of the Volvo Car Open, and today some of those big names are still duking it out for the title.
Right now, Scott Eisberg joining us on Daniel Island with the latest.
Welcome back to Daniel Island on the set of the Tennis Channel alongside Tracy Austin, who just called a pretty wild match. Petra Kvitova goes down. What did you think about that match? Pliskova coming out and knocking off the #2 seed.
It was a roller coaster ride. Pliskova lost the first set in 30 minutes. Petra was in control, and then Pliskova was able to elevate her first service percentage and make it the weapon that it is normally. And I was a little disappointed in Kvitova because way too many unforced errors, and I thought she'd be able to step it up that third set, and she never was able to, which is really interesting because Petra Kvitova has such an incredible record against fellow Czech players, but today it just didn't happen for her.
What do you think happened there? She goes up 6-1, wins the first set easily, and then it just kind of falls apart. Was there something that you noticed that happened that kind of turned the tables?
Well, the first game of the second set, Petra got her serve broken by double faulting twice in a row, and she never seemed to recover. You know, it's interesting because Petra Kvitova, you look at the curve of her year and the curve of her career, and she can play so brilliantly and beat everybody and anybody. She's in February and March of this year, she had beaten 6 top 10 players, and then she'll go and lose to a player outside the top 100. So she's very streaky. She can hit so many winners, so many unforced errors. She can basically take the racket out of a player's hand.
So Kristina of the Pliskova twins, she moves on here. She is the final Czech player in the field. Up next for her is Elena Vesnina. Tonight, Madison Keys takes on Lara Arruabarrena. Your thoughts on that match?
Well, they played only once, and that was last year in Miami, and actually Arruabarrena won that match. At the time, Madison Keys, her left wrist was still bothering her. Now Madison is healthy. She loves to play on clay. She's a former finalist here. I think she's in good shape. She just has to make sure that she's patient enough in a match like this. But I tell you what, the first match on clay of the season is always tricky for everyone.
Make it a little tougher that it's the first match on clay and it's stadium court Wednesday night under the lights.
Yeah, I think so. It's such a different surface. You know, we've been playing on hard courts for the entire season, and then all of a sudden this gritty, slippery surface is under your feet, and you also have to change your mentality. You have to be much more patient because the clay slows the ball down. It diffuses the power, and so the points are going to be longer.
That's Tracy Austin from the Tennis Channel. Watch her all week on the Tennis Channel. I'm Scott Eisberg on Daniel Island. We'll see you again at 6 and 7 o'clock.
You know, Scotty's superpower, he rips off those tennis names like without blinking.
This Volvo Car Open update is sponsored locally by Low Country Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Well, it's day 4 of the Volvo Car Open. Today, some of those big names started making their way onto the court.
Right now, Scott Eisberg is on Daniel Island, taking it all in. He joins us now. Scott.
Welcome back out to Daniel Island alongside Tracy Austin from the Tennis Channel. I'm Scott Eisberg. We are talking day 2 of the main draw, and names are starting to rise. Tracy, what names do you see rising in this tournament here in Charleston?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is Madison Keys. She got to the finals of the U.S. Open last year. She was a former finalist here and a young American who has tremendous potential.
Petra Kvitova is a name that tennis fans know, and tennis fans here in Charleston now get to see. If you could talk a little bit about her story and how special it is, that would be wonderful.
It's really quite a story. About a year and a half ago, Petra had her hand injured. It was actually sliced by an intruder back home in the Czech Republic, and they weren't quite sure. It was her left hand, and she's left-handed, whether she was going to be able to continue to play. Came back at the French Open last year. She's won a few tournaments since her comeback. She's gotten her ranking back up as well. She's a fan favorite. She's a favorite of fellow players as well, and she's playing in Charleston for the first time, so very exciting news.
For her, is this something where she could compete right away on clay in Charleston?
I think so. It's a tough transition, the first tournament on clay, because the players played in Miami last week, of course, on hard courts. Everybody has had that quick turnaround, but I think the green clay plays a lot faster than the red clay, and all the players enjoy Charleston, the friendly fans, and they're so knowledgeable as well. I think everybody's happy to be here.
Yesterday we talked to Dasha Kasatkina, and she said she couldn't believe all the pictures of her. Her face was on the side of the stadium. Now she's playing a night match. How big is that for her and the fans have taken to her? How big is tonight's match for Dasha against Christina McHale?
It's really huge. I think last year winning this title was the springboard for Kasatkina to do so well and really believe in herself. And of course, just a couple of weeks ago, she got to the finals of Indian Wells, which was the first premier mandatory, a big deal for her. Last year, everybody in Charleston, everybody in the tennis world got to know her so well. She's got an electric personality. She's so bubbly. Fell in love with her, so her game as well. I think it's very exciting that she's here to defend her title.
How tough is that pressure on her coming back as the defending champion?
You know, it's interesting because she was asked about that, and she said, there's so many tournaments to play, and I'm not really thinking about it, but there's no way that can't be in her mind because that's a lot of points to defend. She has to worry about her ranking, but she's young. Hopefully she's fearless, and she goes out and plays with so much variety and panache that she always has.
Tracy, thanks so much for your insight. That's Tracy Austin from the Tennis Channel. Watch her all week and watch us here on ABC News 4, our team coverage with the Tennis Channel. I'm Scott Eisberg on Daniel Island. I'll send it back to you guys.
This Volvo Car Open update is sponsored locally by Low Country Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Now, the Volvo Car Open got underway over the weekend with qualifying matches. Today, current title holder Daria Kasatkina. Why does Scotty do that? Why does he just give me names right out of the blue? Daria Kasatkina.
You did well.
We'll be back. But Charleston native, you want to handle this one?
Shelby Rogers.
Yeah, there you go. She's sitting this one out. Breaking today, so is the fourth-seeded player in the tournament.
Our Scott Eisberg joining us live from Daniel Island. He has this breaking news this afternoon. Scotty?
Good evening from Daniel Island, the Volvo Car Open, day one of the main draw. I'm joined now by Shanda Rubin of the Tennis Channel, our sister network. Big news coming down this afternoon. Sloane Stephens withdrawing from the tournament. She was supposed to play her first match here Wednesday, coming off the championship down in Miami. Surprising to you or not?
Well, it happens, and you know, we had all hoped, myself included, that Sloane would make it to play here. She's playing great tennis, coming off of that huge win. But sometimes, you know, it's a quick transition, and not only is she having to transition mentally, come down from a big win and get prepared to start a tournament again, she's also having to transition from hard courts to clay courts, which is difficult. And then the physical toll that, you know, winning that many matches in a row in such a big event, it takes a toll. And if she didn't feel she was quite ready to start from scratch, that would be a reason to pull out. But it's disappointing for all of us here to not see her.
What do other players think? Does that kind of leave a void? Hey, someone else could win this tournament now when you're talking with other players in the clubhouse sort of thing?
I absolutely think it does. When you have the champion from just last week not playing this week, certainly there are a lot of players that are looking to step up and maybe have a big week themselves. You have, of course, the defending champion from last year, Daria Kasatkina, who's in the draw looking, you know, to recapture some of that form. She's been playing well this year. Have Naomi Osaka, another young player who's been playing great tennis, winning in Indian Wells before Miami. So there's a number of players who would be looking to step up into this void, and it just continues. You got to be ready to play from day one, from the first ball hit, and that's the key.
Shanda Rubin, thank you so much. Watch her all week on the Tennis Channel, and of course our coverage continues all night tonight. On Daniel Island, I'm Scott Eisberg. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Scotty, thank you. And Scotty and Darren will have much.
This Volvo Car Open update is sponsored locally by Low Country Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Good evening from Daniel Island alongside Darren Stoltzfus. I'm Scott Eisberg talking tennis. Main draw Wednesday. An interesting Wednesday, Darren. Petra Kvitova and Kristina Pliskova playing the premier match of the afternoon, if you will. Many people thought Kvitova would be the one to roll through this tournament. She didn't get to play last year. She was assaulted in her own home, tore up her hand, her left hand, which is her hitting hand, but she has made it back. She is a Wimbledon champ 2 times over, but today she struggles.
Well, she didn't struggle to start. That was the interesting part about this match. What made it so great is that first set, she absolutely dominated. Let's take a look at the highlights. Kvitova, she just took off in that first set, absolutely torched the field. Pliskova was in a 6-1 hole. She lost that first set in dominant fashion in less than a half an hour. Things would change, though, in that second set. How about Pliskova, the lefty, getting the ace going right there? Look at that serve. That is impressive. Takes the second set 6-1 after she lost the first set 1-6. Kvitova, she would fight off several match points, but in the end, Pliskova too good she would come back and win this one 6-3 in the third set. 1-6, 6-1, 6-3. Her second top 10 win of the year.
Naomi Osaka has certainly opened plenty of eyes this year. She was the winner at Indian Wells. She went on to beat Serena Williams at Miami. Osaka taking on Lara Sigmund today. Sigmund made it all the way to the semifinals last year. Huge crowd on club court for this one. Osaka serving Sigmund. Drop shot right there. Osaka charges, scores the point easily, wins the set 6-3. Sigmund makes it difficult, forces a second set tiebreak, but Osaka takes it in straight sets 6-3, 7-6. The 20-year-old from Japan is moving on.
Honestly, I think I only won the second set because it went to a tiebreak. I feel like there were some moments while I was serving, and I think she had set point maybe. I feel it could have gone either way, so I feel a little bit lucky in that sense. Since Indian Wells, everything's gone by so fast, and I feel like I'm just mentally a little bit tired, so I think that's something that I need to learn how to fix.
Well, the first match of the day, it was indicative of what would come because it was very windy, as players have talked about all week long. But today was a different thing. Instead of a two-set match, this one was an absolute marathon. Christy Ahn and Julia Gerges took 2.5 hours. This is in the third set. Ahn gets the point there on the tiebreaker, takes it all the way to the tiebreaker, but Gerges would dominate once they got to that point. The American falls 2-6, 6-4, 7-6.
Well, honestly, I don't know. I think she played a pretty solid match. She didn't give me any unforced errors, and yeah, I just tried to find my rhythm a little bit, the movement as well. It's not easy when you didn't have a match yet, and she had already won yesterday, which I think is an advantage, but at the end I won, so that's what counts. I'm in the next round. It doesn't matter how, but no, I'm very proud that I somehow found my way.
The night match tonight on Stadium Court featuring one of the most popular Americans out there, certainly the most popular American in the field right now, Madison Keys. She is a former finalist here on Daniel Island, falling to Sloane Stephens in the finals 2 years ago. Tonight, Madison takes on Lara Arrubarrena, Stadium Court, under the lights, about 7 o'clock. Might start a little late with the match going on right now. Keys, she had to retire from her match down in Miami, but year in, year out, Madison Keys does always put on a pretty good performance here in Charleston. It's certainly somewhere she feels very comfortable playing.
I don't think it's changed. I think it was one of those runs that definitely helped me finally believe that I could win a slam, and I was that close, and it just made me that much more excited to try to be the one to hold the winner's trophy, and it just really helped motivate me to keep going.
And you have to see this. It's all tennis this week for us in Sports 4. But last night, Mark Kingston in Charlotte, North Carolina, South Carolina, doing an interview mid-game. And he takes a baseball off the chest, Scotty. There's an old baseball term for this. You got to wear it. And Kingston does. He continues the interview, and he didn't rub it either. That's what I love.
He was an absolute champ about it. He kept going. He said, you can't let the team see pain, and the team did not see pain.
Well, the team did not, but the fans certainly saw pain last night in Charlotte. Whew.
No question about it. Darren will join us again at 7 o'clock tonight on ABC News 4. We will have all the highlights and reaction at 11 o'clock. For now, live on Daniel Island, for Darren Stoltzfus, I'm Scott Eisberg.
This Volvo Car Open update is sponsored locally by Low Country Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
All right, another half day in the books of the Volvo Car Open. That field continues to narrow. Players hope to make it to the finale. Scotty Eisberg joining us live from Daniel Island. You got a lot of the big seeds playing today. A big surprise early on, Scotty.
Yeah, no question about it, Dino. Petra Kvitova is out. She was the only player in the tournament right now who had won a Grand Slam. She won Wimbledon twice, but Kvitova lost today, so she is done. So a lot of the smaller names rising here, and that's still fun to watch. That's still interesting because you get to learn about those players, learn those players' personalities. One that we didn't expect to be as interesting as it was, certainly Anastasia Sevastova. What a story she is. She she was very good today, and she did beat Caroline Dolheid of America, but her story is so interesting. She took off a couple of years from tennis with an injury. She came back. During that time, she went to college. She had an interesting major, and oh, by the way, her coach is also her boyfriend. Stories you just love to hear that make tennis very interesting off the court.
I was sitting on my couch and watching TV. No, no, I was doing some other things. I was studying a little bit, helping, training some young kids, just doing normal stuff, what normal people do.
You studied leisure management. What is leisure management?
I have no idea.
Exactly. That's what I thought. What is?
It was something about tourism, about some, I don't know.
Speaking of a love-hate relationship, and I'm joking here, your coach is also your boyfriend, Ronald Schmidt.
But why is the love? No, it's not.
So we can see you.
Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's okay. I mean, sometimes it helps, like maybe you get a little bit anger out. Sometimes he gives me some tips.
Yeah, my wife and I can't wash the car at the same time. Forget about her being my boss, my coach, nothing like that. But it is an interesting relationship they have. And Sevastova obviously doing well. She is moving on in the main draw. So tonight's match, Madison Keys and Lara Arrubarrena. Keys certainly the most notable American still in the field. She will play at 7 o'clock tonight or after this Fanny Stoller-Joe Konta match, which is going on right now. We will certainly preview that match and have much more on today's action coming up later on in sports. For now, live on Daniel Island, I'm Scott Eisberg. I'll send it back to you.
Scotty, they gave me one question to ask you, so I was a little torn. I wanted to find out who the guy was sitting on your tennis set, but I'll save that for another night. My question is this. I've had so much respect for you, how hard you work, but I never knew your superpower is ripping off those tennis names. Did you get that from your mother or your father?
My superpower is, rattling off the tennis names, but really my superpower, it comes from Dr. Marshall Newton, who's coming here tonight. He gave me a Z-Pack today to get over the strep throat that I had. He is my superpower today, but the tennis names, that just comes from 12 years of covering the Family Circle Cup / Volvo Car Open.
Very good.
Working through strep throat.
And you know what?
That's
Giving Newton Family Medicine a little free plug there. Tennis coverage brought to you by. All right, Scotty, thanks. As you saw, gray skies lingering over Daniel Island and the entire low country. Will we see any rain tonight? That's the big question.
Yeah, meteorologist Sonia Stevens joining us with more on the forecast for us during this 6 o'clock hour tonight. Sonia?
And Dean and Ashley, this cold front just didn't bring us much